Okay, it's Monday, December 20th, 2021 at 5:45 p.m. Call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Lang, Barker, Harris, Blake, and Marmee. First item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $97,832.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These monies are getting paid in Newark High School and the Hillview Elementary. We got together, a group of us from the city got together with the administration of the schools. We had a problem of cars backing up on Horns Hill, directly related to more parents dropping their kids off and picking them up. Through conversations with Councilman Marmee, the administration of the schools, we decided we would split that. Our portions coming through our code dollars.
Offer motion. Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Questions and or discussion? Mr. Lang.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Director Rhodes, what's the timeline for the?
It's been built.
What's already there?
It's already built.
Okay.
The final bill came in, we're splitting it. And that's why I'm in front of you tonight.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution amending resolution number 92-109, resolution number 95-46, and resolution number 01-11A, and amending the terms of the real property tax exemption available in the 5th community reinvestment area and making related authorizations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The resolution before you would amend the city's community reinvestment area number 5 from an existing 50% tax abatement percentage to a 100% tax abatement percentage. This change would be beneficial in fulfilling the goal of the CRA as defined by the Ohio Department of Development, which states a CRA is an economic development tool to encourage revitalization of the existing housing stock and the development of new structures. This change to 100% tax abatement would encourage new development in this area. In particular, the newly proposed Overlook residential development, which will be dependent upon a 100% abatement to be financially viable. The Overlook residential development will provide much needed new housing stock to the city. And then in closing, this amendment will bring CRA number 5 tax abatement to the same 100% level as all the other existing city CRAs. Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over and see if we can get a motion.
Thank you. Any questions?
Offer motion.
Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Yes, question.
Rochelle Bowen-Smith, 237 Violet Court. Is this in reference? What area is this in reference, for one thing? And this is a total tax abatement for this new development. Is that the one on Cherry Valley Road? Okay. I remember that we did not get tax abatement for development around 21st Street. When that's a more affordable housing area than this new proposed area. And I'm sort of curious as why it's getting more priority. Thank you.
So community reinvestment areas were established well before my time here. And they were established to encourage and incentivize development in areas that were distressed and weren't being considered for development. So to answer your question, there are existing community reinvestment areas. This particular one, CRA number 5, is located in the Cherry Valley Road area. And so it is a qualified existing CRA for this development. And 21st Street does not have a community reinvestment area associated with it. Because for obvious reasons, development is going very, very well on 21st Street.
It was proposed and there were going to be some other areas around Walmart, is that what's called?
Well, you might be confusing the community reinvestment area with the TIP, tax incentive. Okay,
I am.
financial. I think that's probably because the Walmart area was done with the TIP. And those are two different pieces of legislation.
Okay, I got the impression that was not true.
Well, the TIP is very much in effect in the 21st century.
Any other questions and or discussion? Yes, Mr. Lyon.
Thanks. Mr. Motter, you had outlined for us some of the benefits, I think, to the CRA change in conjunction with implementing the new community authority. Could you maybe just briefly outline that? I think it'd be helpful for folks to hear kind of how we see those working together to benefit the city.
Sure. I actually brought that with me, so I'll just refer to that. So the CRA currently is a 50% tax abatement area that would be in effect for 15 years. And then after that 15 years, the abatement is discontinued. For this particular project, the Overlook, we are going to combine this CRA tax abatement with something that's brand new. It's a new economic development tool called a new community authority. And we're going to have that actually on the next piece of legislation that's coming before you. And the CRA tax abatement funds that are established, which is really done by the improved value of the property. So if we have a vacant piece of land and a house is built on it, the property value is going to go up, right? When the county auditor's office does a reassessment. The abatement keeps the tax level at what it was when it was a vacant piece of land. And it abates that increase in property tax valuation over 15 years. What the new community authority does, it captures that increased value and allows the county to still collect it. But then it gets channeled to the new community authority board, which will be established if council approves of this. And that new community authority board will use those funds to then pay their debt service to do all the improvements that are going to be necessary for the development. So water, sewer, roads, everything is going to take to make that development happen. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's just important to understand these kind of go hand in hand, and it's not just, right, we're not just doing the abatement.
Correct.
It's both together.
Yeah, they were definitely going to work in tandem. They were going to work together. And without them working together, this probably would not be a financially viable project. And so this is exactly what a community reinvestment area exists for, to encourage and incentivize and help with development. And that's exactly what this new economic development tool called the new community authority that we'll talk about in the next piece of legislation is the financing conduit. Is that be a good way to put it, Chris? To make this economically viable.
Any other questions or discussion? And just to summarize, it basically takes the risk off of the city of Newark as far as investing in this area, and it goes on to this entity, and therefore the city funds and our taxes are not at risk at all as far as, you know, just putting money out there for this development or assisting in that. It all goes into this pool. Very good. Any further comments or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to determine that the petition to establish the Cherry Valley New Community Authority is sufficient and complies with the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code to set the time and place for a hearing on the petition and authorize the notice of such hearing by publication and declaring an emergency.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Again, it's all new to all of us, so I'll do my best to kind of summarize this. The key to what is in front of you right now, which is what we're actually calling a sufficiency resolution, if you will, is the petition to create the new community authority sufficient to meet the ORC guidelines to make it a legal entity. So attached to the legislation, hope you all had a chance to take a look at it, attached to resolution 2189, is the petition itself. And in that petition, it is trying to establish that sufficiency of all 9 sections have been addressed, and all the exhibits that are listed amongst those 9 sections in this new community authority petition have also been properly completed. And I think if you had a chance to look at that, you'll see all the exhibits are complete. Then if this committee finds this to be complete and sufficient, then you would forward this on to be sent to full council for a vote. And that at that time, council would then forward it on to meet a public hearing schedule. Mr. Attorney on the community authorities, have I got that pretty well correct?
Good job, yes.
Very good, thank you. So again, you got a sufficiency resolution that contains the petition, and if you find the petition meets all the requirements, and refer to the law director. Appears to me that this has been met. I think she agrees. Then it's up to you to go ahead and forward this so council can then meet the public hearing dates. It's not less than 30, not more than 45 days from, is it when council votes on it at the next full council meeting?
I can read it.
Okay.
Upon submission of the petition to the OBC, assuming the petition is signed by the approximate city, the board is required to hold a public hearing on the petition not less than 30 and not more than 45 days after the petition is filed. Approval is to be given after that public hearing, with the NCA's Board of Trustees being appointed within 10 days after formulation. Yes, there is an emergency clause on this in order
Because
to
of
do that.
because to meet those dates.
Correct. Yes.
And I apologize, I just got this as I was paging through it. I didn't catch it earlier. I noticed on the petition, there's a couple of signature blanks for James Havens and Marine Havens. I don't know if those signatures are necessary. Maybe we just got the wrong copy attached. Just want to make sure as we move it forward, we've got the full, I'm guessing you have it there. Okay, great. So we
We
could
only
just,
submitted the petition. I had it. It wasn't a PDF, it was a photograph basically, so we're just supplementing it.
completely fine. I think I just want to make sure as we pass it along to full council, just make sure we get the full signature page in there.
Good question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Blake.
Mr. Chair, Director, can you, have there been estimates about how much dollars we're talking about this authority board will be able to distribute? Have there been estimates about how much money will be coming from the abatements?
Is that the feasibility portion of it?
More than 2 million, less than.
Who's the appointing authority for this board?
Council appoints 3 members to the board, and the developer appoints 3 members to the board as well, correct?
Yes.
I'm reading directly from my notes on that, so. Does that answer your question, Jeremy?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I'd entertain a motion. Motion.
Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Any questions and or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Director.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda, we had budget discussion. The main reason why I had this, the law director was under the weather and I didn't get with her prior to our last meeting on the budget. She has since given me all the information that I've asked of her as far as questions within her budget. I feel satisfied with that. If anybody though on the committee has any questions, not only about that, but any other items on the budget, I'd be happy to entertain any discussion or questions that you may have at this time. No. All right. The final thing that I will just share with everyone is that the unappropriated balance is $652.47. The current rainy day balance is $1,004,073 and some change. And with that, this meeting stands adjourned.
Next to be service. All right, we'll call the Newark Service Committee meeting to order. Those present, myself, Rath, Harris, Parker, Blake, and LaFutis sitting in for Oninger. Up first, resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Services of the City of Newark, Ohio, to advertise for bids and enter into contracts subject to the appropriation of funds for replacement of lead service lines within the water distribution system. Mr. Loomis, we talked about this a while ago.
Well, this is, we talked about the funding for this. This is the authorization to bid. We have to bid contractors. We engaged an engineering firm to help us with some structure management on this project. We need to bid for the work to be done. So our hope is to bid several contractors to install these. We're paying upwards of $3,000 or $4,000 these need to be done, so we need to get started. And the money's been appropriated. This is just giving us authorization to bid for the contracts of the contractor. to do work for us.
Any questions from the committee?
How long do you think it'll take to get, are you planning to get done by the end of the year
For
or all of them?
all these, we probably will not be done until sometime in 2023. Unless we can hire 5 or 6 contractors. It's roughly a day-long process for each one. There's start doing the math. A couple of days to work in a year. Takes some time.
You said we had 3,000 to 4,000. You said 2023. You need a calculator.
Is that
what? Do you need a calculator? 3,000 to 4,000, 200.
Well, we can do some of them are half of them, so take some of them do it 2 days, or 2 in a day, that kind of thing. So I'm just saying roughly, a full one takes a whole day, there's some of them just do half of them. So we can get 3 contractors, to do more, we're trying to get as many contracts as we can, so.
Motion by Parker. Second. Seconded by Harris. Any other questions for the committee? Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on the council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving forward with a vote of 5-0. Sir. Up next, resolution 21-83, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio, to advertise for bids and enter into contract subject to the appropriation of funds for construction of a new Bay Drive booster pump station and upgrading of Thornwood Drive booster station and surrounding water lines.
This is a project, we have funding for this in place. This is a new pump station. If you, we have what's called our Southwest Pressure Zone. And this is basically the Park Trails area and the area of Thornwood Drive where the possible new industrial sites are going in out in that area. We have one booster station that supplies that area. The plan for some time now has been to put a second booster station to back up to that system because it's a fully pressurized system out there. In other words, when the pump station goes out, people are out of water. It does have a backup generator currently. The station's over 20 years old. The current station that's in there is 20 years old. So we want to have two stations. So if one goes out, the other one can go on, especially if we have a large industrial user out there. We want to have that in place just so we have some backup to keep in service for water. So this is just authorizing us to drop a bid to the contractor to provide material to install this booster station on Fay Drive. So if we want Fay Drive, if we want on Dornwood Drive over by Bennington condominiums where the existing one is at.
We're gonna upgrade that one and put a new one up there.
Upgrade that one with some new pumps and some new controls, some SCADA systems and other things. Keep it, and then put it in so we have a backup and then rotate back. Similar to what's up in the Morgan Manor area, we have Swansea and Krebs stations out there. So there's two pump stations that come from the water tower. One fails, we got the other one.
Any questions from the committee? Questions from the audience? Motion by Parker,
Second.
seconded by Harris. Any other questions or conversation? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That will move forward 5-0. Up next will be Resolution 21-84, resolution authorizing Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio, to advertise for bids and enter into contract subject to the appropriation of funds for construction of the east side transmission line.
Yes, this is a project that's been on the books for, again, this is a resolution to authorize us to go out for bids for contractor to install this line. It's been designed for a number of years, about 15 years. And this will be a line that will do several things for us. It provides calling this the east side transmission line. This goes from New Haven down Butler Road, down Dayton Road, ties in Dayton Road. We have some issues with chlorine residuals out in that far into town because it's so far from the plant. This gives us a loop out there. This provides better fire protection in that area where there's some industry out there or some commercial development out there. And this will also be the point where we could possibly tie into the new Ricky Valley Water District to supply water out there. So this is $3.5 million to do. This is coming from the Ohio Builds, which Lieutenant Governor Houston was out here the other week to announce that we got that money through the Ohio Builds program. And that's what this money here is being used for. And that's what this project is.
Will that pay for it in full or will it be portion?
We'll pay for, well, we haven't got the bids yet, but we're estimating this will pay for it in full. But the way things are these days, I don't know. Prices are crazy.
Any questions for the committee? Questions or comments from the audience? Motion? Motion by Parker. Seconded by Labutus. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That'll move forward. A vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Appreciate your time. These next four pieces of legislation, I believe, are all for the same piece of property. We will not be voting on this, as these will be brought up in Rule 11. So it's 2141, 2142, 2185, and 86. 41 is an ordinance consenting to the annexation of certain territory, generally described as being approximately 0.948 acres or less, located at 137 North Vernon Avenue in Newton Township, to the city of Newark, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. 2142 is ordinance objecting to that annexation. 2185 is a resolution adopting a statement indicating what services, if any, in the city of Newark, Ohio, will provide for approximately 0.94 acres more or less, located at 137 North Vernon Avenue in Newton Township, the territory proposed for expedited to annexation and declaring an emergency. And 2186 is a resolution regarding the buffer zone for the annexation of approximately 0.948 acres, more or less located at 137 North Avenue in Newton Township and declaring an emergency. So the first two is to annex, and first one is to annex and the first one is to nominate. It's a standard procedure so that we have an opportunity to actually vote and non-annex a piece of property if we want to. But this is open for discussion. Is there anybody here to discuss this from the administration? From the administration.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to speak to it. I haven't been involved in this.
Mr. Moorhead, you want to speak to this? Ms. Moore? You want to speak to this? The only reason I'm bringing and persistent about that is this is being brought through committees because this is the point of where discussion is had. If this is going to be brought up, I'm going to limit, it's just going to be basically a vote.
Yeah, it's a single property on North Urban Avenue, and my understanding is that the property owner wants to do some additional construction on the property, and that construction will fit better under the city zoning ordinances as opposed to the townships. That's really all I know about it.
So any questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments on any of this legislation from the audience? Now, if you want to comment or have a question, come up.
Rochelle Bowen Smith, 237 Violet Court. I was wondering how that area was going to be zoned and what is the intent of the use of the land.
Well, we would have zoning ordinances in here yet. You know the answer to that, Mr. Moore? I would imagine it's going to continue to be zoned when it is zoned now, which is residential. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. That's the existing, there's a house on there now, so it's an existing single family residence. So after it's annexed, then it'll get the city zoning established. And it will be something similar out of
Any other questions or comments on this, on these four pieces of legislation? Anybody, audience, committee, anyway? Case is closed, and we'll talk about it more in council. All right, up next is ordinance 21-43, an ordinance closed changing the zoning classification of certain real property generally described as 26 Vine Street, City of Newark, Licking County, Ohio, from that of single-family residence RH High Density District to HB High Density Business District, zoning code of the City of Newark, Ohio. As a reminder, this piece will go through committee and be read once in council, then referred to planning commission, and then come back to council. The planning commission will hold a public hearing. They'll come back to council with a public hearing, and then we'll have a thought about it based on planning commission's recommendation. Does anybody have any questions, comments on this? So at this point, it's kind of weird. Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a second? Motion by Parker. Second by Budis. Final say. All in favor of passing the sign, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And move forward with a vote 5-0. Excuse me. Up next, ordinance 21-44, an ordinance repealing and amending Charter 440, Section 440.01, subsection G, bridges of the codifying ordinance of the City of Newark, Ohio. More.
Yes, thank you. So as happens occasionally on some of our major bridges, when they get to the point that they're near the end of their life, we need to put a reduce the legal load limit on some of these bridges. And the last time that was done was on the East Main Street Bridge back in the late 90s, I believe. So this piece of legislation would repeal that restriction that was still on East Main Street Bridge after the bridge was replaced and rehab. We never went backwards and took it off. So this piece of legislation would remove that restriction from the East Main Street Bridge. But unfortunately, on the Cherry Valley Road Bridge, we need to reduce the load to 20 tons. And this would create a legal load limit of that 20 tons on the Cherry Valley Road Bridge. So recent inspections and discussion with ODOT and their engineers and inspectors has the recommendation is that we put this load restriction on the bridge.
Can you give me an example of a load that would exceed 20 tons? No.
Well, I'm sure the heavily loaded dump truck with asphalt, for example, most of those are right around the 18, 19, 20 ton load range.
What about fuel tank?
I don't know how much one of those weighs, honestly, but possibly.
Okay. Fair enough. Any other questions? Committee? Questions from, we have a motion by Parker. Seconded by Peters. Questions from the audience? See none, all those in favor of passing this out of council signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion will be carried forward with a total of 5-0. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Up next, that concludes Service Committee meeting. We'll stay adjourned. Up next will be personnel.
I'd like to call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. In attendance are committee members Hughes, Mr. Lang, Mr. Martin sitting in for Ms. Huntington this evening, Mr. Fennell, and Ms. Hall. We are reconsidering ordinance number 20-16C. This was tabled on October 5th, 2020. So before we move forward, I would need a motion to bring this off of the table for discussion. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Motion by Mr. Marmy. Second by Mr. Fennell. All those in favor of bringing this off the table signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Aye. Passes 3-2. So we're reconsidering 20-16-C, an ordinance setting compensation and setting policy with respect to certain positions within the office of the clerk of the Licking County Municipal Court of the city of Newark, Ohio, and repealing all ordinances and resolutions in conflict. I have someone who would like to speak to this ordinance.
Marcia Phelps, Licking County Municipal Clerk. Thank you for bringing it off the table. I understand that it's quite old, but it would be something that needs to be resolved one way or another. We received additional information today from Auditor Bob about the cost, and then I followed up with revenue that we generate from the municipal court clerk's office so that you would have full disclosure of information both ways. I know this isn't unusual because there's been several departments several departments throughout the year, this past year, that has either increased their table of work, their table of organization by positions or in salary. So I'm here again just to say, I don't feel that we are out of place in the question that's being asked. I think the dollar amount that we have made the comparisons to, not only in the city, but outside the city and other municipal court clerk's offices in the contiguous counties, match up. So it's just a question for the committee.
Are there any questions from the committee? That's my question. I was gonna ask. Obviously, this evening, we're voting on the budget for this following year. It came to us in early December, we'll vote on it this evening as well. Obviously, as part of that budgeting process, different department heads met with the auditor and brought their budgets forward. Was there a reason why you did not address this budgeting need during the budget cycle that we just had?
At that time, I had been having conversation with what direction should I take. And there wasn't a clear directive, but then as it progressed, it was suggested that I proceed with bringing this back for consideration. So it would have been most appropriate, obviously, for me to have done that at the time. It was a rather quick, opportunity to have a budgets review, obviously. I don't know if you've gone through that, but we don't get a lot of time really. And it still is a question. And I appreciate your your concern for that. But it just didn't match with the time. But since I was advised to come back, here
I know that from the information that Auditor Bob supplied to us earlier today, the total cost that we're looking at right now is about $152,000. Correct. So with us passing the budget this evening, is there a place where we should find the money for that $152,000?
Right. And that's a fair question. You guys always are, making sure that you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Admirably so. At this point in time, it would have to be something that is sit down, we would sit down and have a conversation. I was advised that I need to talk with the mayor. And so I reached out to the mayor, but we haven't had connectivity. I've been out last week. So, I had a illness here. So, I didn't have time he didn't respond really. So I haven't had a chance to know if he's open to the idea. I have not even approached any of the, some of this, just for your knowledge, would come from a computerization fund, not general fund. And I don't have that portion in my mind now. So there are two positions on this table that's being presented that would be paid out of the court for the clerk's computer fund. How much is that? I don't have the money, sorry. So there is some funding that would come from the computer fund, but the bulk of that would be your general.
Any other questions, Mr. Moore?
So the other departments that have increased their staffing and or pay, we've just asked them, okay, so what is this gonna bring to the city additional as far as the benefit? What's the return on it? I mean, they've been able to spell it out in not only dollars, but productivity and safety and things like that. So what's going to be the difference in spending this additional $152,000? How's it going to, what kind of boost are we going to get out of your department?
Well, I would certainly like to tell you that it's going to generate additional revenue, but revenue only comes from the number of citations or cases that are filed in our court, as you know. And with the projections that I just released to you this afternoon, you can see that 2020 and 2021 was reduced. And I think that's all because of COVID. Law enforcement in 2020 wasn't as aggressive as well they should have been. And we are starting to see that spike come back up, more cases. Now, I think the most important thing that we need to consider, and I would ask that you consider, is parity. When you look at the parity of the salary for those in the clerk's office compared to other departments in this city, and the workload that is balanced by them, you will find that they are underpaid. Again, I just lost another person to the law director's office. It's okay, she's an experienced person, but it's because they pay more money per hour. It's not because that job is reaping more benefit to the individual, to the department, or to you, the city of Newark. but it's because she was already experienced and it's a quick fix to an open position. I don't mind training people. We love training people. But we lose them because other departments in this city make more money. And they are saying, fine, we're just gonna go with that. And I talked with her, the young lady, and she said, Marcia, it's my family, it's $1 more an hour. I need to move where I can get more money per hour. Respect that opinion, respect that position, young people trying to make their, ends meet, need to look at the bottom line. But as within that office, I don't think you're reaping a benefit or a reward or a increase in revenue, because I don't think they have revenue that way, from, the increase, the difference in salaries. So I would ask that you strongly consider the parity that is not there for the people as deputy clerks compared to other positions in the city. And then if we wanted to broaden it out, other departments or other municipal court clerks throughout the state of Ohio. And not far reaching. I don't go far reaching. Delaware County is quite similar in size to us. Same caseload, same size employees. Their salaries is greater than ours. And it's a doable drive if somebody wanted to really seek out employment outside of the big county. I hope I don't lose any more.
So you're saying that basically the purpose of these increases is the parity of the other positions inside the city of Newark as far as comparable positions, and also the comparison of Delaware County,
Well,
correct?
other counties, Fairfield, I'm just listed 1 or 2 there. Yes, I think that's most important for anybody to take into consideration.
Which did you compare to state that it's parity amongst those? Which-
Fairfield, Delaware, I didn't look at Knox because their size is a little bit different than ours, much smaller. But Fairfield and Delaware is similar in size. Franklin is way over. So you can't look at Franklin because the size of Franklin County, I think they're sitting with 14 judges over there. So that is not even a doable thing. And I don't think many people want to go to Franklin County, but places like Delaware or Fairfield, they might, or just within our own city here. And again, I appreciate the fact that other departments are able to offer additional funds to their employees or a different pay scale to the employees. I think it's wonderful. I just think we need to be able to have the same opportunity as for the deputy clerks in the municipal court.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was looking back at the minutes on when we tabled this last fall, and I know there was a HR personnel matter that we had to talk about in executive session. I don't know that that matter's been resolved. So I don't know if we need to go into executive session to follow up on that discussion before we put this to a vote. As it seemed to me, I'd like to hear from, I don't know if Mr. Spurgeon has an update on where we stand on that matter, but I think it would make sense to go to executive session and discuss that matter. So I'll move to go to executive session.
I have a motion to go to executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All. Vote to go to executive session. All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Point of order, point of
Yes,
order. You need to indicate who you want in the executive session, and then it's sort of who all you want as far as the administration, council members.
So I'm just looking back at the minutes. I think we included Ms. Phelps, council, and Mr. Spurgeon from the administration. I don't know if we need to include anybody else.
Probably the entire administration.
Entire administration.
And law director.
And if I may, there was a report that was submitted to you. It was,
Sorry.
All right, so. Or vote.
What about the new council?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to vote on this in full council with the new council. So if it's appropriate, I don't know if the letter.
So we can have a-
include the council elect.
They're not supporting yet.
No.
Okay.
So I think that would pose an issue.
Right.
Okay.
So for a vote for administration, Ms. Phelps and all of current council to go into executive session?
Auditor's office.
All those with any auditor's office, yes. Okay. For all those to go into executive session, all those in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. We will go into executive session.
We remain in here.
Yeah. If everyone else leave except those that were called upon to stay, please.
Sorry to scream at you. I didn't feel like it.